Welcome. I'm Robin Smith, trauma and relationship coach and the founder of the Rock Your Relationship Sisterhood Facebook group and the Rock Your Relationship movement. And I'm coming to you live to answer your questions about relationships. And I put in a question in the group recently. So if you're not in that group yet, make sure you click the link below. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome and say hello and where you're listening from. I'd love to know where you're listening from. So put that in the comment below. And I've asked a question about what is your biggest relationship question right now? And I got a few answers. So I want to respond to those today. And please let me know as you're listening if you can relate or if you have any questions about what I said, and I will come back and respond again so we can keep the dialogue going. So the first question I had was, why are relationships so difficult to find? And I it's a general question, but I think it's actually a great one because, in fact, I was just talking about this issue yesterday with somebody where there's a lot of awesome. I don't know if this is you who asked the question. I'm sure you're an awesome woman. I don't know if you're a single woman, but I'm guessing that, and I know that there are a lot of amazing, conscious, single women in midlife, in my life, who want to find a relationship with somebody and they can't seem to find, quote, a good man, somebody who can meet them where they're at. And it's tricky when you've done a lot of personal growth work. You've worked through a lot of your early life traumas, your dysfunctional patterns and whatnot, and then you can't find somebody who's done their own work. And I think it's not uncommon that women tend to be more interested in this personal growth work than men. It's what I've seen when you go to these workshops and trainings, that there are a majority of women there. And so it makes sense to me from that perspective that it can be tricky to find somebody who's done their work, who you don't have to work through that stuff with. So I just want to name that. That could be part of the problem. If that's you, if that resonates. And then, and for sure, there are a lot of men who are doing personal growth work. And so hallelujah to that, and we just have to find them, right? And so you might meet them at these events where you're doing meditation or you're doing, breath work or whatever it is you're doing, conscious communication, whatever it might be. And those might be great places to meet people. I'm not a dating coach, so I'm not gonna go on that. But one thing I noticed for me was that as you may have heard my story a little bit with my husband, Patrick, we were both in the meditation world and doing that kind of work together. And then we had our differences, and it was challenging for me because I wanted us to be more alike and have more of the same values or make more of the same choices. And so what I discovered that I needed to do to stay in the relationship, because I wanted to stay in the relationship, was to let go of some of how I thought it had to be. And so that's what I want to propose to you. If you find yourself always finding that you can't relate to somebody, or there's always too many differences, or they're not good enough for you, is to see where is it you can compromise. What is it you might be willing to accept, even if it's not perfect? Is it good enough? Because I think if we're always looking for perfect, we're always going to be looking. So good enough, it's pretty good. And for me, we had enough in common and enough that we could work, and we had to work through some stuff together for sure. But there were many places where I had, all these standards or all these, things that I thought needed to happen. And when I realized they weren't as important as the connection we were having, then it allowed me to be okay with letting go of that and to recognize that the love, the connection, the companionship was more important than ticking off every one of those boxes. So I want to put that out to those of you who find that nobody's good enough for you, because it might be that your standards are a little too high and that you're never going to find somebody who can meet you exactly where you want to be met. And you may need to, if you want to find a companion, and you make that more important than everything being perfect. So let me know what you think about that. Put a comment below, and I'm going to move on to the next question. And by the way, when I ask these questions, the more specific you can be, the better, because then I can really address what is going on for you. I'm just guessing about this person's, the first question, since I didn't have any more information. But on the second one, I have more information. So this person is saying that she has a relationship with her sister where she wants to share her joys with her sister, and her sister doesn't celebrate her joys, is what I got from the message. Her sister compares herself to her, and it makes it uncomfortable for the person asking the question. And then she feels like she wants to hold back because she doesn't like the energy or the exchange when she shares her joys with her sister, and her sister doesn't really meet her there. So, and the person asking the question is asking, what should I do about it? Should I ask her about it or not, or just, kind of keep withholding that part of herself? So, of course, I can't give you the answer for you, but what I can say is that we each get to decide how open, how vulnerable we want to be with somebody. And in each relationship, we get to make these choices, like, is it safe for me? Do I feel comfortable? Are they meeting me the way I want to be met? And so if someone isn't totally meeting you the way you want to be met, it makes a lot of sense to me that you might withdraw. But if you are close enough, and clearly you have a lifelong relationship with your sister, if you want to take the risk, because you hope that it would bring you closer, then it might be worth it. If you know her well enough to know that, that risk might be worth it, then I would say go for it. Address the issue, not with any blame, but with letting her know, like, I want to be able to share my joys with you. I notice that you tend to compare yourself to me, and then I feel uncomfortable with that. So I would just name the truth without any kind of blame or criticism, and just see what she says to that. And you can also make a request around what you would like to be happening. I want to be able to share my joys with you, and ideally I would love if you could celebrate that with me, or at least hold space for that. And you can let her know, that it's scary to ask. You can let her know that that what you want, you understand if that might not be possible. So the more you can reveal about the truth for you, the more potential you have for connection. And the more you withhold, of course, the more distance you create. So that is the question. Like, is it safe to reveal? You don't ever know what the outcome is going to be, and so it might be a risk to do that. But if you don't, then you stay in the distance, right? So that's really the question. Is it worth staying in the distance, or is it worth taking a risk? So I hope that's helpful. And we'll move on to the third question here. How do I stop triggers of the past so I don't get anxiety? She said, how to stop triggers of the past so you don't get anxiety. I love that question. We actually worked with this with somebody in my group yesterday. So we all have triggers of the past, and obviously some of us much more than others. So appreciate your question, and I'm sure you're not alone in that. Basically, I don't know if you can totally stop all triggers. So that's one thing. Like, we're biological, we're beings. We have a lot going on inside our system, and things happen before we get cognitive about them that just trigger a nervous system response. Like, I had a dog coming at me this morning on my bicycle, right? I'm going to have this big breath, and my heart was pounding. And so we're going to react to things that happen. However, I'm sure you're probably not, maybe you're talking about something like that, or something like deeper in relationships, but for sure, anxiety can be triggered by old stuff. And so the more you can work through these things, and I don't mean like exposure therapy, where if you had a big trauma, then you expose yourself to that same trauma. That is debatable about whether that's a good idea for your system. But to have somebody to talk to work through, like, what I do with my clients is when someone brings something up, we had this yesterday in my group, someone had some old stuff coming up about when she was prepping for an interview, and she got scared and she started to freeze, and she had all these ideas that she was doing it wrong, and then she just couldn't do it anymore. And so as we peeled away the layers, we kind of pulled away, like, what was her thought process? What was she believing? Then she could get underneath the stories that she was telling herself and how they were connected to past experience. But even if she couldn't make those connections to the past, it didn't matter, because we were able to work through the content that was coming up in the present moment. And through that, she felt a lot more relaxed and calm and more able to move forward. Now, we didn't put her back in that situation, so I will look forward to hearing how it goes next time. But that's the kind of work that I do, and I do find that people that sticks for them when they go back into this situation. So, or I wouldn't do this work, right? I hear positive results, and they get positive results in the session, and it's a body mind experience. It's not just cognitive, like, oh, I shouldn't have that thought, or that's silly of me, or of course I'm okay. It's really taking it into the body. So that's what I recommend is find somebody to work with who can work with you on a somatic or physical level, biological level, as well as the cognitive and the emotional level. So all these levels of our being, it's like body, mind, emotion, are important to address when we're working through old triggers and traumas that continue to cause us suffering, and these these triggers, as you're saying, this anxiety that comes up from that. So that's what I would recommend. As it's sort of, because you asked a general question, sort of a general answer. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions about what I've said, any comments, please put that below under the video. And if you're interested in learning more from me, sign up for my Ultimate Communication Checklist. It's an awesome, super brief, one-page checklist where you can look through and see how you're doing in your communication skills. And then if you want more support from that, you're going to see other ways to get support from the checklist. So I'll put a link below, and I hope to see more of you soon. All the best.